have another crazy idea about retirement. So as you all know, I'm on the journey of downsizing and moving forward after my kids move out and ditching this giant house. And we talked a lot about like, where do I go from here? So I've come up with actually one potentially great idea. I am thinking, why do I have to sacrifice beauty and my lifestyle just because I'm downsizing? Why can't I still create my own thing? So in a previous video, where do I go from here? We talked about, do I go into tiny home living on my own land or in a community, or a mobile home park on my own land in a community? Do I rent indefinitely? I don't have retirement savings, so I will be living off of Social Security and side jobs, which is fine if you own your own home. Well, that just is not in the cards, right? So I was looking at all these options and took all your advice, and great advice, and I'm still considering it all. But I noticed when I was looking at all these options, it just kind of sucked the life out of me. It was like, this just isn't me, The tiny home, I felt claustrophobic even watching the videos, although I think that they're very cute. I felt, especially the lofts, they just, like I can't do that. And then mobile home parks, I feel like I can make anything cute. I've always said if I live in a tent, it's gonna be the cutest tent, like cutest tent you ever seen. But then you have to rely on the neighbors, and are they keeping their place up? Because I would have to be in a community that's really low income, and what comes with that sometimes. And also the lot rents are just getting higher and higher. So what I can afford today, I might not be able to afford later. So then I started thinking about, just getting some land, and whatever happens, happens. At least I have somewhere to go. But that seems scary too, because it's so remote, and I don't want to be in town where I have to pay water, sewer, trash. I do that now, and it's coming up to, just for those things, it comes up to about $300 a month for everything. And then your utilities, well, where I'm at, they're very expensive, like $1,000 a month. Well, you put those together right there, and I can't do any more than that. So I was thinking, what if I had a place where I could have a few little solar panels? I could have my own well. I could have a septic. I've had that before for many years, and there was no issues there. And it's, on my own land. So what I did was I went into ChatGPT and talked to him about my vision, every single little detail about what I wanted. I wanted to make a picture of it so you guys could see, because here's what I'm thinking. Just because we have to go into something smaller doesn't mean we have to be something that we're not, right? So my home means a lot to me because I like to decorate. That's just my passion. I can't get rid of it. Even when I was a child, I was decorating my mom's house constantly. She'd come home from work and everything was rearranged and different. And that's just who I am. Cannot change it. If you took that away from me, I would lose my spark. So if you put me in a box that doesn't inspire me, I'm done. I don't even know what I would do. So, cruising through Pinterest one day, I saw this little cottage, and it just hit me. It was like, how is this really different than the tiny home, other than the tiny home's movable? But what if it was just a tiny cottage, but a real stick-built one? So I don't know. I'm going to show you photos of kind of the quick vision I have, and then I'm going to show you some of the details. So the quick vision I have is, let's just say I have this 600 square foot little mini cottage. And it was built in the way that I like, with my inspiration. So I'd have this little 600 square foot, maybe I'd have to go to 5. I don't know how much this would cost. So I'm kind of curious to see what you think, if it's even feasible or if it's even still over my head. So I'm thinking, what if I were to get a cheap piece of land? I mean, cheap, but here's the caveat. Don't yell at me. But I want a stream, okay? I want a little creek, a little mini stream. And so I can have some walking trails, gardens. I love shade gardens. I don't like the sun, so I love shady spots. So here's what I did. Here's my mock-up. Yes, build the thing. Is it doable? I don't know. But look what I could do with that. Look what I could do with that plain old square box, 600 square foot house. This is my vision. Look at that. Couldn't that be dreamy? Wouldn't that be dreamy? I mean, I could just decorate it and do my little touches and do my things, and it would be amazing. And here, I even did this little rendition of the back. Well, I'm going to show you the interior first. The back's my favorite. It's everything. It's where I would hang out. So the inside, pretty simple, just kind of a one-room concept, but in my style. So like a mobile home in a mobile home park would probably be, $150,000 or something. You could get some cheaper, but they're not in good shape and you're spending a lot of money rehabbing them. So if you wanted something that's just, livable, not icky, you're looking at probably $150,000. And I'm thinking, could this little box, and I know not with all the finishes, be made for like $150,000 to maybe $200,000? I don't know. But I'm not even worried about the interior finishes, because I can do that. I can go to garage sales and get antique cabinetry and make my kitchen. I mean, I can make it amazing. So I'm not worried about interior finishes. I'm worried about just, a finished product box with plumbing and electrical and a very simple, basic one-room design. Now, this really inspires me. This lights me up. But wait till you see the patio idea. Oh my gosh. So I've always said, so I love to garden. And one thing in the house I'm in now, it's on a hill. It's very hilly. And so with my mobility issues, it's very difficult for me to do any gardening or anything like that. I can do like pots at my front door, which I have, and they're beautiful, glorious. I love them. But I pictured when I retire, if I end up in a wheelchair again, the one thing I don't want to give up is my life, the things I love, the things that bring me joy. And so I've always pictured having this little patio, whether it's when I'm older or whether I end up in a wheelchair at a younger age. But I pictured it with like 4-foot walls, with planter boxes surrounding the patio. So I could surround my patio with flowers and I can garden and I could sit out there and eat my lunch or dinner or whatever, or just sit out there in the evening and be cozy with all candlelight ambience. And this is what I came up with. This is the backyard of my dream cottage. And it's not done after this. But what do you think? Tell me this is not dreamy. Is this doable? Like, that doesn't have to be in the original build numbers. That's something that I can put together as time goes on. So we get the house, on a dry lot. And then we add the rest as time goes. Maybe someone gifts me a front porch, for my birthday. I don't know. Crazier things have happened in my life. And then not only that, but I'm so inspired. Like, one of my favorite things in life is parks. I just love parks. But you know how unfortunate that it is that women by themselves aren't always safe, walking trails and things. So I used to live in this log house on 17 acres many years ago. I did one video about it in the very beginning, I think. But I always dreamt of having all these little windy, pathways throughout the property where I could plant shade plants like hostas and, throw forget-me-not seeds everywhere and just have this walkway that just, oh my gosh, put a gazebo out there. Always had this dream. And then at Christmas time, put lighting through it, and you could do your own Christmas walk with hot chocolate. I get these crazy ideas, but that's who I am, and I can't change it. So put me into, a little community like that, and I'm being boxed in. I'm not being me. And so there's this old song called "Don't Fence Me In," which talks about that very thing. I wish I could play it, but I can't because of copyright. But the idea is, we seek this freedom, and that's what I'm thinking with this whole new concept, is not being fenced in by an apartment or by a tiny home community or by a mobile home community, whatever. Having a little snippet, a little spot that inspires me and lights me up. And maybe it's not ideal because it's out a little farther. Maybe I can only go there on the weekends or something, but at least I have me. So let's say I am living in a rental, a small little studio apartment or something. And, I could have this place to go and to build things, my gardens and things like that, and escape. Or maybe my children would want to make their little spot there and they could go on the weekends or whatever. I just have this crazy vision, and I don't know if it's doable. But okay, so back to the pathways. Okay, here's the picture. Come on, how sweet is this? This is what I envision. If I was in a wheelchair, I could make everything level. I could have my little bridge. And even if it's just a daily little loop around there and, cutting my flowers or sitting on my bridge for a minute, is this the most peaceful thing on the planet? We need to have tiny home communities, tiny house communities like this, where everyone has their own space and we have these little cozy trails and everything's really beautifully inspired, But what do you think? Is this even realistic? Is this something that can happen? Or am I in La La Land? I don't know. Back in my early years, I built things. I built this little playhouse for my daughters. So we went to Disneyland, and on Tom Sawyer Island, you probably know, they have the old rustic little buildings, and they have a water wheel. And so we were there, and my girls were just loving the area, and my son loved it, and we would just tromp through. We'd spend so much time on Tom Sawyer Island. And so we went around the island on that boat, that New Orleans boat or whatever. And we were looking at the water wheel and building, and I said, gosh, we should put that on our property. It makes us so happy. And that's back when we had the log house on 17 acres or, 20 acres, whatever. And so guess what I did? I built this little cottage for my girls to play house in. And so it would look cute on our property with our log house. And I had this guy who made water wheels, make the little water wheel. And I hopped up in our tractor. We had a John Deere tractor. And I scooped out the little pond and put giant boulders around it and a pond liner and created this whole thing. So in my head, I'm going, just build your cottage, you know? How hard could it be? Call in an electrician and a plumber and build the rest. Well, physically, I can't do that anymore. I know how to do it. I've done it. I've built carports. I built the wraparound porch. See, that's all part of me having to be creative and create things. And I could do it. I could probably do, bits and pieces of it for sure on the interior. But I'm not climbing ladders anymore. I can't get on the roof. That would be a nightmare. So, although I know that there are things I can do to reduce the cost, the basic shell would probably have to be done for sure. So, I need feedback again. Am I crazy? Are there any builders out there? Is this even possible? Now, I still would have to find my little plot of land with my little creek. I want a creek, Like my daughter says, that's expensive. That's not going to happen. Well, I know it is, but it could be small. I'm saying, instead of thinking big, like it's either a house or a tiny home, I'm thinking, why can't my spot be as if it were a real house, built, but it's just small? I mean, how adorable is this, right? I could even Airbnb it on the weekdays while I'm at my studio in town and go out there on my weekends. There are a lot of different ideas. So that's where I'm at. After that video, and you guys gave me such great feedback, and I went and I have really tried to research it. In fact, I was kind of settled in on the mobile home park. And I say not because there's anything wrong with it. There's a lot of beautiful ones, but the ones that I could afford are pretty and they're uninspiring for the creative mentality that I have. You can only do so much. You don't own the space. So, yeah, I don't know. But look at this. Tell me this isn't dreamy. Tell me this wouldn't be a glorious way to live, to retire, And even if you ended up, getting some assisted living down the road, maybe your kids could bring you out there on the weekends and you could go home because it's paid for and they don't have to feel like they got, to liquidate everything because I don't own anything, I guess I'd have to put it in their name or something. I don't know. But that's my vision. That's my crazy idea of how to approach this second half of my life. And I want to see what you think. I want to hear if I'm crazy, if this is undoable, or if it's totally doable. I don't know. I haven't built a house. I haven't done any of that. I know land things can be a nightmare. Gosh, I don't want to think about that. But one thing at a time, Wild, huh? So there you have it. Dream big, I guess. Leave it to me. I can't just do the normal thing. I gotta think of something crazy, wild and crazy. I'm gonna show my family this and they're gonna be like, just go get an apartment, But that's fencing me in. Don't fence me in. I'll go crazy. Jeez. Anyways, thanks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping me thinking. See you next time.